Yes. All right. So thanks for joining me, guys. Ken, Marcos, and Todd. I got all of you guys signed in. So all right. So, and I'll do some housekeeping in a little bit, but what I want to do is go over today's the module that I created for tonight's class and for the next few weeks for you guys to use. So let's go ahead and share my screen. Let me know if you can see it. You should be seeing just a black AutoCAD background, nothing's on it, nice and blank. Sweet. All right. So let's go here and we're gonna go make sure that all of you guys are checked in. And I've got to go back through here and make some adjustments here. Because apparently, unless I don't do anything, it thinks you're present. And so like everyone's got 100 for attendance. And it's like, that's great. But that's not really how it works. So I'm going to do some housekeeping tonight. Tonight is going to be a work time with my assistants. Most of the classes from here on out are work time with it's about 50-50 work time lecture. So I'll be giving more instruction on things to how to like button up your final project, how to be putting in a few more views, how to be creating some section heads and that kind of stuff. We're going to be but at the main thing I want you really focused on right now is just really getting that content. I know Todd, I believe I saw your content was just had lots of stuff on there already in your floor plan. So that's great. So we'll take that and start translating that up into our walls, right? So that way we can keep it rolling. That's what a little bit tonight's going to be about is a little bit of the walls. The more fun stuff, though, we're going to go ahead now that I've got everyone checked in. I'll come back and do this. Let me get back here. So if we go to home on our modules, I'll just full screen this. Hey there. We got one more joining us. Hold up real quick. Let me go back and get everyone checked in. And all right, perfect. You haven't missed anything yet. Just go ahead and get yourself set back up. All right, so let's go here to the home page on your modules, and you will see we've got our course docs. Right underneath the course docs, if I collapse that, we now have a section called Final Project. Okay, pretty clear, I would assume. What we're going to go through tonight is the instructions for the final project, as well as the blocks and downloads that I've created for you. So you can go ahead and use those. I've spent quite a bit of time getting some stuff all nice and scaled and prepared for you. So hopefully you take advantage of that and utilize some of it. I know that some of you have already created your own stuff, and if you've already got your own, absolutely fine to keep it that way. But here's stuff if you want to use it, right? So if you've already created some of your own blocks, by all means, leave them. If you find something you like here that's better than what you got and you want to replace it, do that too, right? So let's go ahead and I'll just open up this final project document. So it's pretty easy as far as conceptual wise. So we'll just go through it. I've changed this class quite a bit. It's going to evolve into more things. This class at this time got simplified pretty much down to as bare bones as I could teach it without going over the top. Without really diving into stuff that I feel you won't utilize later. I want to teach you stuff that is going to be worth your time, right? Especially as you move on to different modeling software. And so I think the way that the class was structured and taught before was great for what it was. It was much, much more time heavy involvement on your end. And I took a lot of that out of this and taught you the basics. And I think next semester will, again, at some point, this will go down to probably 4 weeks of AutoCAD. Sweet. We got another one joining us. Let's go ahead and duplicate that. Let's see if I can go to my attendance and pick this up real quick. All right.
Thank you.
So, hey, Miles, thanks for joining. All right. So, anyhow, the final project used to consist of a project as well as like an exam, like where you would come in, sit down, and you had 2 hours to do something. I don't feel that you guys need to have a rushed exam. I feel that showing me what you can do by your final project is enough. You guys all have other classes and exams to prepare for, and I get that. I want my classes to be not necessarily no work. Like, I don't want you to think, oh, it's a breeze, but at the same time, you should be able to come here, have fun, enjoy yourself, learn a bit, and not be too stressed out over this stuff, because it should all be fun. This is the fun part of construction. Yeah, my stuff at my level is at a 1/16 of an inch tolerance, and it can be very stressful at times. We're not taking that there, right? If your window is 4 foot off the wall in your model and it's only 3'8" off the wall at your house, do I really care? No, I don't. Okay. I want you to show me what you're doing. Show me that it's dimensions. I can build it. I don't want you to get caught up in the nitty gritty that this window is exactly 24 3/4 off. Round things off, right? Don't get, if you can get as precise as you want. I'm not saying don't measure, don't get precise, but don't get down to the 1/16 of an inch and beat yourself up that your modeling is, weird because you're not getting the right dimensions. Use blocks that are already created that are similar sizes. Okay. That's all I'm getting at, right? We don't need to make it super perfect. Do I want it buildable? Absolutely. Do I want it to match to the gnat's ass of what you're designing? Probably not, because every designer doesn't even match their own shit, right? Let's be realistic here. So let's go through this. Project concept. The final project should be modeling a space in which you're familiar with or want to be familiar with. I probably screwed that up because I was writing a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, whatever. Or want to become familiar. That means it could be your current dwelling, right? If you live a current place you're living, maybe it's something that a future mother-in-law house that you want to build, or maybe it's a little vacation home, right? Something that means something to you, right? And it could mean, it could be your mom's house. Maybe it's a place that you're going to remodel at some point, right? Maybe do something that could possibly benefit you down the line is what I'm getting at. Okay. Even if it's your own home, it's kind of nice to have your own home drawn out. Like, it's pretty cool. If you ever need measurements or dimensions on anything, you want to know how much, paint you need to buy, you can bust that thing out and do some quick math based on your drawing, right? And you can figure out your square footage of walls, right? So it can be useful. Okay. So wherever you choose, that's up to you. Okay. We want a floor plan view of the entire structure. Okay. At least one level. Okay. If you want to do 2 levels and go above and beyond, great. We'll talk about that. We can talk about adding stairs, talk about what a second level looks like. I don't want to get too hung up on that. What I want you to do at this point is plan on your top floor not being there. If you can draw everything and you've got all your other elevation views drawn and you want to come back and draw a secondary floor, by all means do that. But don't draw 2 floor plans and give yourself so much work that you now can't complete the project. You see what I'm saying? Because I don't want something that's half finished. If you're going to give me 2 floor plans, I need to be able to build it. Whether it's a doghouse or the Empire State Building, I got to have the plans complete. Okay? Make sense? All right. Huh?
Where are you guys? I just want to catch up with you a little bit.
Do you want me to turn on my screen?
Something like that.
Yeah, I'll turn on the screen. Just a second. Give it a second. Because if you turn the zoom on, then you get all types of bad feedback. There you go. I'm just on the course homepage. So here, I'll just go back a second. Here's our course homepage in Canvas.
Yeah.
I'm in this final projects. I made this course docs. I made a new section called final project. And we're just looking at this final construction 241 AutoCAD final project doc right now. Yep. All right. Implementation. So the drawing must include the following: a floor plan view of the entire structure. That's what I'm saying. At least one level, right? Elevation views of all the exterior, whether it has a window or not on it. I still want an exterior view, right? Maybe it has nothing, and that's fine. You can give me a blank wall with a few dimensions showing me how high and how wide that wall is. Okay. 3, we need doors, windows, walls, kitchen, counters, sinks, toilets, beds, couches, etc. Right? I want you to fill out this house. Use the blocks that I'm going to provide to help build this house for you. Okay. I don't want you to have to do all the work on your own. That's why, again, I've been very gracious and provided these, scaled them, and you should be pretty much good to go to just drag and drop them in. All right. Modeled elements should be shown in both plan view and elevation views if applicable to that view, right? So if you're cutting a section and that section is in the middle of your room and that section looking towards the window includes a table, we need to see that table in the elevation as well, right? Okay, so if there's furniture in there, if there's a bed, we need to see it in the elevation as well. If it's an exterior, obviously we're going to see the exterior of the wall and we're not going to really look into the building. So we don't need to include anything past that wall, right? But if you're standing in the middle of the floor plan, we're looking towards a window and there's anything in our way, it needs to be shown in that elevation view as well. So I'll show you how you cut that. In probably next week's lesson, we'll see where we get with that. So we'll do a whole lesson on interior elevations with section view cuts. And then last but not least, I was just referring to this, at least one internal, right? So interior section in addition to the exterior elevation. So I don't really care that if you want to go crazy on them, by all means, please go nuts. But we need to at least have one. Okay. And then last but not least, and this is especially not least, dimensions for all prominent elements. Okay. So that means I need to be able, doors, windows, cabinets, anything that can't move. I don't care about where the dimension of that coffee table lives. I do care about how wide that counter is, how deep that cabinet is, how big the counter or the cabinet is for your sink. Toilets, I don't care. You don't need to dimension a toilet, right? Treat that kind of like a chair. It's a singular object. Bed, I don't really care. But if it's something that I can't really move out of the house, with exception to, I'd say probably toilet and bathtub, let's put a dimension on it, right? Windows, walls, cabinets, doorways, right? All that good stuff. All right. Please use the title blocks we created in class to show the different views. Again, we're going to go over placing and how we put the views together on our, it's pretty simple. We've looked at it a little bit with our title block and placing a view on our title block. We're just going to do that multiple times so we can capture some different views and create, multiple pages. Ideally, maybe it's 4 or 5 pages. It might be 2, it might be 10, depending on how big your scale is. It all depends on how big your scale is, right? Because you could have something that is massive and takes up the entire page and I need 15 of them, or you could have, a little tiny drawing and 15 little section views that are all scattered around. The other thing is your title block size. And right here, I said, feel free to alter the size of the title block to either an arc C, which is a 18 by 24, an arc D, which is 24 by 36, or an arc E, which is a 36 by 48. So these are your standard size sheets that you'll see in the industry. If we wanted, I think we built an 11 by 17 originally. Okay, so same concept we had before. We can go ahead and alter that to build an 18 by 24. You don't have to, okay? If you want to fit it on your 11 by 17, that's fine. There's just not a lot of room there, right?
And are we gonna submit like a screenshot of everything that we do? Or
You're going to be
sections that we
submitting a
do?
project. You're not
project?
going to be doing screenshots.
Okay,
I do screenshots for homework assignments because it's simple, easy, whatever. I don't care that much. Final project is me looking through everything, really assessing, are your dimensions in the right spot? Does he have what he needs? Like, I can see that on a screenshot, but I can't see all the properties and info and everything I want to see.
okay.
So we're probably going to submit it as well. I think we're going to do it. I haven't decided. I'm kind of on the fence. I think I just want to submit it as a DWG, which is just the AutoCAD file, right? Just this AutoCAD file, but I want to have all your sheets across the bottom of that file. Okay, so we might have sheet 1, and I could duplicate this sheet, create a copy of that, and we'll look at creating different paper spaces and our different sheets. But ultimately, I don't care to necessarily print all these to PDF. As long as I can take a look at the modeled elements and then it's nicely organized across the bottom. I don't think we need to individually print each one to a PDF and then compile that together. Okay, so unless you think that's necessary. So this final project is worth 35% of your grade. It is a chunk, but again, we haven't had a ton. Attendance is worth 30% of your grade. The in-class assignments is 35% of your grade. And the last 35% of your grade is this final project, okay? So it's really, you guys are all here. You've been attentive. All of you have nothing to worry about, right? You make sure that your assignments are turned in for those of you that are missing some, okay? If you are missing some, again, I know I've given some people an extension on some stuff. Please either turn that in by the extension time or it will be, 50% credit, but 50% is better than nothing, right? So if you want, 1 point is worth, it could be worth 5% of your grade by the time it's all said and done, right? Realistically. So get that stuff in. We only have, realistically, each assignment is worth roughly 4% of your grade. So if you turned in one of them for 50%, that's 2% of your grade right there. If you don't turn it in, there's 4% gone, right? So if you did everything except turned in one assignment, you got it all perfect, you'd have, or maybe 2 assignments, you'd have, a 92. But if you turned in 2 of them that were 50% each, now you got a 96, right? So it really does add up, is what I'm getting at. Please turn in your work if you've got some late work. That being said, I'm done talking for a little bit. Okay, one more thing. Sorry. 2D blocks. Okay, we're gonna talk about this real quick. I'm gonna swap over to a different screen. This is back to the actual modules page. Okay, I'd made this final projects module. There are 5 different DWG attachments here. Okay, I've made chair blocks. I've made blocks for your kitchen, so that could be stoves and sinks, sofa blocks, bathroom blocks, bed blocks. And tonight we're going to look at putting those in. However, before we get into that, if for some reason you are like, I am not satisfied with this, I don't want to draw my own block, you can go to this website and this is where I downloaded everything from. Okay. There are more blocks available. I downloaded a lot of the basics, but if you want to get crazy, maybe I didn't get what you want. Okay. That being said, I did include this down here. We need to convert, So if you work in inches, which we all do, we need to scale it to a factor of 0.03937. So I've already scaled everything for you on the blocks that I'm giving you. Okay, so all the work's been done there. If you don't do that, your block's going to come in, 70 times too big or whatever. It's just, they're massive. It's all made in millimeters. Okay, so there's, it gets really big really fast. So let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and look at this real quick and look at how we open up those blocks. So I'm just going to go back to home. We're just going to go here to the chair blocks. I'm just going to double click that. It's going to open up and I can actually click on, let's see. If I click on this, it should download. There it did. It went and downloaded. And I didn't zip it. So you shouldn't have to unzip anything. Everything was zipped before. So then I had to extract everything and put it all together. So, but if you just double click this, it should open up and you should be able to zoom in here. Here's chairs in your profile view. And then here's chairs and different arrangements in section view. Okay. If we wanted to use any one of these, we could just click on it, hit Control C on our keyboard, come over to our drawing, hit Control V. It'll paste in there and you can move it around and it'll be an active block in your project. Okay. So that's what I want to play with today at the first hour or so of class. We're going to take this till about 7:20. Okay, so we'll leave the last half hour to look at a profile view. So you got about 53 minutes or so. I want you to go ahead and download these different block files. Okay, start looking through them. If I go to this, let's go to the kitchen blocks real quick. If I download that, open this guy up. So there should be quite a bit of stuff here. I've got sinks, corner sinks. I've got cabinetry. So start exploring what your options are. I even have like under cabinet plumbing. Okay. And then, here's microwaves. There's things that are in profile view. Here's ranges that are in plan view. You might have to look around a little bit. If you've got a question, I can probably help figure out what it is if it's not labeled. Some of these, when I brought them in, weren't able to, like if I brought the title block in, it would work for like this spot, but then it would say all of these are kitchen sinks, which they're not. That's a fridge, right? So it was being kind of funky. The important part is I got all the content in here, scaled correctly for your use, and categorized into basic kitchen, bath, bedroom, sofas. Okay. Any questions on that real quick? I know it was kind of a lot that we just went through. But let's just dive in, have fun, start opening up these blocks, place them a little bit. If you don't have a ton of your wall content drawn, maybe you just get a couple of these blocks, look through them for a little bit. Maybe you find some chairs and stuff that you want and copy and paste those into your project and just put a little, essentially we'll call it like a little pen, right? Where you can put stuff and just drop it in there if you want to use it later. Okay. I don't care if you have a little, I'd probably put this in here. So let me go back to so here's this chair. So maybe I want to just do something like this where I put a line in here and I just make a little square, roughly whatever, I don't care. And as I like things in my kitchen blocks, ooh, I like that stove. I want to just Control C, bring it back over to where my drawing is, Control V, and place it in my little area. So then I can pick and choose later from it. Okay. So otherwise you're always going between a bunch of stuff. I didn't put all of this in the same file because I didn't want it to crash people's computers. I thought about having it all together, but it's a lot of data. when you get them all together. So especially because they're combined into blocks, everything, once you make something a block, it makes it like 5 times as large just because it's gluing it all together. So I just wanted to keep the files small for you to download. So that's why I kept them separate into, the different categories instead of having them all together. Yeah. So anyhow, I'm going to go through here and probably I've got some housekeeping stuff I got to take care of for attendance. Feel free to ask questions, share your screen this next 50 minutes. So we'll come back. We'll do a break at like 6:15 if you want, or sorry, 7:15, and we'll rejoin at 7:20. So, but the next 45 minutes or so are yours to use as lab time and start playing with the blocks, get some content populated in your little pen or your corral, if you want to call it that. And so then that way, when you are placing it, or if you've got walls and you got bedrooms and stuff built, go ahead and place beds in your bedrooms by all means. I'm just saying, if you don't have that far, if you don't have all that content drawn yet, at least you can start picking out some of the stuff you like. Did I get Windows? Let me see if I got Windows. I should have gotten Windows, but I don't see them here. So if I didn't, which I thought I got, hold up. Let's go back to bedrooms. Okay, I need to build the doors and windows one didn't get on here. So I'm going to go ahead and build that and post it for you guys right now. Okay. So
Hey, Graham, I have a question. So saying
yeah.
if you have a stove and you have the range hood on top of the stove, like would that be in a different view of your section of the whatever you're building? Or how would we organize that? Because I
So
mean you
if
can't,
you've got a hood over the stove,
yeah.
you could, so if you're looking in plan view, you wouldn't see the stove, right? You would just see
Mhm.
the hood. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so that would like the range hood would be in elevation view, right? Or it'd be different.
Or you definitely want it. You would definitely see it in your elevation view. Now, sometimes you might not necessarily see it in plan view, only because the architect is trying to portray that there's a stove underneath it, and it's kind of hard to see through that.
Yeah.
But you could also stack them and
Okay.
allow it to, show kind of the border of that range hood and then the
Okay.
stove underneath it.
All
So
right.
it's what's called a wireframe view instead of a hidden line. So a hidden line view would be if I'm looking down at something, if I see a table, I'm going to stop at that table, right? But if
Right.
there's let's say that there was a trash can underneath that table, I wouldn't see it in hidden line, right? But if I put it in wireframe, now I just see the wire of it, and you can see that trash can or whatever is underneath there. So either way, you can portray that stove however you want. If you want to just show the range hood, that's fine. If you want to just show the stove, that's fine. But in elevation, you definitely need to show both because you wouldn't have one of them blocking out the other, right? You wouldn't have, you're not looking down and one of them's blocking. You're looking forward and seeing the stove, and you're looking above it and seeing the range hood, right? And you don't necessarily even need to have a range hood, right? A lot of a lot of smaller places have just a vent in the middle of their stove, or maybe they got a pop-up one out of the back. Maybe they got just a little one with their microwave kit. So it might not be a massive industrial hood like you're thinking too. So. All right.
Hey, sir, when you get a minute, I got a couple.
Absolutely.
question.
Absolutely. What you got? You want to share your screen?
Well, I'm on that too.
Oh, you're still doing your other, gotcha.
Although
Yep.
I could, I guess, log in on this computer and share my screen, but this is, anyway, what I got right now is, I've got my floor plan. I've drawn, I broke out all my walls. So I got my walls drawn. What I wanted to do was maybe do like a cutaway where I show the framing of the wall.
Okay.
So with that, my question to you is, do you have like a way that if you're ever drawing a framing plan or a framing, a drawing of framing, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
You want a section view
method of
of the
doing that,
framing member, right?
Yes, but let's say you're framing a wall and you got headers and sills and cripples
Sure.
and all those components of a wall, and you're drawing those. I don't know. How do you go about doing that?
Okay.
What's your method of doing it?
So there's a couple different ways to do this. What we would typically do is you would have two elevation drawings, one of them that shows your wall elevation. Well, maybe three, depending on, we'll talk about wall types in a section on a wall type in a second.
Sure.
That could be a third drawing but typically you'd see like a drawing that shows your wall, and maybe it shows a whiteboard on the wall, right? Maybe it shows the wall, but it shows just what you're seeing at the wall, right? The surface. And then you would also have a framing plan. And the framing plan would show the wall, and it would show it without the gypsum on the front, and you would see the studs. And so
Absolutely. Sure.
so then you would see every stud that's, 2 and whatever wide, or depending on if you're doing metal studs, wood studs, whatever, your 16-inch center to center framing, whatever it is. Maybe you even show, and then you would show all of your framing for any window cutouts, right? Any doors.
Absolutely. Yeah. So drawing that framing is what I'm trying to do.
Okay.
And it's not, I mean, it's not that hard when you're using the tools that we have here, but I don't know, maybe watching somebody do it that's versed in it, that does it a lot.
Sure. Well, why don't I do, it's a great question. I'm not requiring any of that for this class. So,
no,
but I mean, realistically here, is my screen still sharing? I think so.
And then my other question is, like, I put a fireplace on the outside, a chimney.
Okay.
And that now I have an opening in the wall, that I need to show. Right now, I basically, just like I built the windows, like you taught us how to build the windows.
Sure.
Or should I do something else? Should I hatch it or do something different to
whatever you want to do to show that that's, just an opening of some type is fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, and you could get,
want it to look like a window.
You could get really fancy if you wanted to. I think I even saw some right here, and I was looking at bringing some of this down. Let's see, where did I see it? Did I see it in this ironworking one? I thought I saw like a little fireplace grate, right? That you put in front. You could show something like that if you wanted to differentiate it from a window.
Sure, okay,
but again, your windows aren't going to be at ground level either. At least I hope not. So
no, it's just when you're looking at it from the plan view, it looks like a window.
Sure, absolutely.
Not an opening.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's fine. And you can and that's where you come in with text and you call it out. You bring a text note in there, and we can bring some text in, and you can draw an arrow to it, and we can call it out that way. So
I can figure something out. I just wondered if you had a preferred method.
Nope, I don't for this.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out why the hell am I on Windows. There's the large. Yeah. Just a second. Okay, well, background, decorative figures. What you got?
This is what I get, I know. I tried all of it.
No, click this arrow. Click the, not the arrow to the side. Click,
Oh,
click the gray,
it is, oh.
gray. Click it again. No, don't double click it, just once. Once again. Once again. There you go, there's your. Just, that's a site, that cycles through the ribbon settings, so this just minimizes things.
Oh,
But if you click that, this to the right of it, then you're just gonna go to the minimize panel stuff. But yeah, that arrow right there is where your ribbon is.
I spent so much time at home here. Okay. Well, the way I'm learning this, I'll never forget these things.
So everyone, real quick, if you want to look at my screen, I'm just going to show you. I downloaded the doors real quick. So I'm building a doors block file for you that I'm going to post. Once, if you, and again, this is if you decide to grab something from this website, okay? If you download these from the website, they'll come in looking like this. And if I grab, you know, a dimension on it, it will show me 800, and that's 800 millimeters wide is that door. Okay. So 1,000 millimeters would be a meter wide, right? So that's like 28 inches, but it's not going to going to come into your file as 800 inches. You don't want that. So what we're doing to convert this, and this is what I posted at the bottom of the final right here. I posted this little thing. This came from the AutoCAD, from the website. It says, remember, these are in 1 millimeter. And so if you're in inches, we need to scale it to a factor of 0.03937. And it goes 00787. I don't care about the last 5 digits. You're close enough. Okay. So right now, this is what I'm just going to show and demo doing this. So I copied all 3 of those different door plans. Again, you only would need to do one, but what I would have done here, let's go ahead and I'll just delete this last one real quick. So if I go to here, I'm going to go ahead and just delete this. Okay. So let's say I opened up, this is doors that I just downloaded, doors 0603. I'm going to take this whole thing, select it, hit Control-C on my keyboard, right? Your standard copy. I'm going to go to my new drawing. Okay, and probably you just need to bring it to your, you just bring it into your final project, paste it, okay, bring it in there, okay, it may or may not paste that title block in there somewhere. Again, I had issues with it keeping them the same, so I just got rid of the extra title blocks that I didn't really need. So now the important part is, again, if I was to bring this into my final project, it would be way too big. So I'm going to scale this. So I'm going to select everything, type in scale, SCALE, hit enter. I'm going to click a base point. So I'm going to click anywhere because I'm going to move it later. I could click 000, probably make it easier, but I'll just click anywhere just so you can see. And as I move it out, you can see it's really small. I can move it way out here. Okay, but what I want to scale it as is I don't care where I scale it. I care what I scale it as, right? So I don't care where I drag this. What I want to do is type in 0.03937 and hit enter. Once I do that, it'll make it really tiny. What the heck just happened?
Not the right.
Whoa.
All the dimensions on the doors went whack. That's okay. We don't want the dimensions anyways. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to select all, select similar. I'm going to grab all these dimensions and I'm going to delete them. We don't want those dimensions anyways on there because we want to put our own dimensions from our project on there. We don't need to use their dims. What is this? Diameter dimension. So let's do again. Let's go ahead and select similar, and I'll go ahead and wipe those out. Perfect. All right. So now these are the right size. If I come in here and actually use one of my own dimensions, come in here and grab this side of the door, zoom in, you're going to see that's 31.4960. It'll round that off once you put in the right style dimension, right? That should round off to the nearest half inch. Okay, if it doesn't, if it's a hair off, if it's a 16th extra, I don't care. Don't get upset with yourself because it's not the right round or something. That's what I'm saying. Your dimensions, I want them to be there to show that what the objects are. If it's not exactly what you're trying to model and it doesn't match perfectly, it's not the end of the world. Okay, we're not building this building. Okay. Anyhow, but now you can take one of these, you can take this door, and now I can take that and hit Control-C, bring it into my drawing that this is my little barnyard and stable area, and I can bring that door in, and there's that door, and you can see that scale matches, about that chair, and it comes in right, okay? So I will go ahead and post this new door DWG. Last but not least, the last thing I do once I scale it, I scaled it. I said I didn't care where it scales from because we're going to move it. So I'm going to click the whole thing, select it, come in here to the bottom corner, type in move, click that base point, and I'm just going to, just to make it nice and easy, put it right near the origin. So that way, when you open up the file, you're not having to look 5 miles out in the woods for it, right? Okay. Does anyone remember, and I know that I talked about this for a brief second a while ago, but does anyone remember how to, let's say that this file was way out in the woods. Do you remember how to find it? You remember the zoom features? Yeah, there we go. Zoom extents. Okay. So again, if you're like really, let's say I'm just going to move this, or actually I'm just going to move myself. Okay. Say I'm here and I'm not finding what I want to, right? Type in Z for zoom, E for extents, and it'll bring up everything that's in the window centered in your window. Okay. So if for some reason it's way out there, you can get it to come in. Now, the tricky part is if you've got a where it gets really tricky is, let's say I've got this here, but I also have, but I also have something out there. Okay. So that's where it gets really tricky. If I type in Z and extents, you can see this little tiny speck in the top right there. And a little tiny speckish area down here. Okay. So if you have two items that are way too far apart, zoom extents isn't necessarily going to be your best friend. Okay. But if you do have one object or something that's way out there, now that I deleted that door, zoom extents is going to bring me right back to where I need to be. Okay. So cool thing, just if you're looking for it. I know I mentioned it, but it's always good, a little refresher on that. Cool. All right, so I'll go ahead and post these doors. For some reason, it looks like the bottom line on these doors got deleted. They shouldn't have. They were part of the block, so I think that's just how it's built. So I'll go ahead and save this and post it. And then I'm looking for Windows. I'm not finding one for Windows. So I think what you need to do for Windows is the same way that we did them in class, where we build the little story pole, you put them in your elevation view, or sorry, in your plan view, and then you transfer that up to your elevation. And we're going to do that. I don't care how fancy you get with trim. I think that's one thing that, having non-standard blocks where you actually build your own. Maybe it's just a little block for plan view, but at least that, creates you to transfer exactly what's there versus grabbing something and then trying to have to find something that matches it. Right now, we're at least transferring those lines from that window up the wall and making sure that that matches perfectly. Okay. So keep going. I've got, let's take it to, again, 620 or so. And I just wanted to show you the scaling thing real quick, just in case you find yourself wanting to do that. Also, it put that into the video, so that way it's, if you want to scale it, you can come back and watch this video.
Thanks, Graham.
You're welcome.
Last week I missed with this, how do you bring these blocks and save it on this? I can download, it will be on my drawing, but in up here, when I click on block and insert, what?
Well, you haven't brought them in. You haven't brought them in yet.
Download and then bring them in. How do I keep in this list here?
Okay, so that's a good question. I'll go ahead and demo that real quick. Let me get this posted and I'll demo how to get your block into your final project if you don't remember how. All right, let's just do this. Add item, file. We browse. Create files, choose file. Okay, so door blocks are in there now. All right, so let's go ahead and use the door blocks that I just put in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and open this up. Again, I can just click it once, it should open this up, and I can just, I believe, just click it again once, it should auto download. It just came up here, auto downloaded as door blocks. And again, I'll just go ahead and click that once and it should auto open for me. So how do we get it from here into your project? And again, this is my project right now. Let's say, again, I said I didn't have anything done. I wanted to make sure that I was, let's just pretend there's my start of my building, okay? And over here, I've made what I call a little stable or a little, area for me to drop in stuff that I want to use, okay? So let's go to the door block. Ooh, yeah, I like that door. That looks cool. Fun front door. Okay. I want to use this for my elevation view. So I'm going to go ahead and click this. I'm going to hit Control C. Okay. On your keyboard. And again, you can also do that right here. You can right click and copy. Okay. But we don't want to be copying it with a base point. So what I don't want to do is come up here and hit this copy button because that's going to copy an item with a base point and want me to copy it in that model. Okay, so I think if you know Control C, Control V, right? Very, very basic commands. I would use those keyboard shortcuts, but if you can't remember, you can right click and come over here to clipboard and go to copy. Okay, again, straight up copy, no copy with base point. So I just want to copy this. Again, Control C. Okay, it's copied on my clipboard now. And I'm going to go to my drawing. And I don't have my elevation drawn for my wall, but I want to save that. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control V and it should paste. And when it pastes, it'll paste at the bottom left-hand corner. So if I did have, and let's make this actually straight. Take that to perpendicular. Why aren't you coming up? Because the snap's probably turned off for it. Snaps. And no, you're on. Just being picky. Just wanted you to go straight. Come on. Whatever. Make you go straight later. Here. Turn that on. Now we're wow. Straight. Yeah, I'll worry about that later. Yeah, but what I want to do is I'll show you real quick that if I have a elevation view down here, and I'm just going to transfer this down 10 feet. Oh, not 10 inches. Feet. 10 feet. And then there we go. I'm just going to go ahead and draw that across. Weird. That must not have been drawn. perfectly. What I'm getting at though, if I could actually draw. Here, let's just draw a nice little wall like that. There we go. There's my wall, and let's say this is my little doorway entrance. Something like that. Let's say that I wanted to place, let's just say that I wanted to place that door right here to begin with. I could, when I hit Control V or paste, it's gonna place to the bottom left-hand side. So if I wanted it, 6 inches off of there, I could place it there and then move it 6 inches. Okay. That's gonna be your best bet. Otherwise, you're still gonna have to move it somehow, right? And align that. So if you can bring it in and you snap it into a spot that you already know where it is, then it's just gonna be a little easier for you. Okay. So when you bring things in, it does want to paste from the bottom left. That should be true with almost any block. So I'll try it with this door real quick. Again, pasting it, yeah, it wants to drop in right there at the bottom left-hand side. Okay, so you could plan your drawing kind of around that if you wanted to bring in a wall, or maybe you knew that the door started. This is where I like to use this. Maybe I know that that door starts 6 inches away. Maybe I don't want to move it later. I can draw a line that's 6 inches away from there. Now I've got a construction line with a point for me. So when I paste that door, I snap it right there and I'm already good to go. Okay. So multiple ways to skin the cat. You can move it later. You can give yourself a construction line to begin with. I like prepping my work, so I am drawing detailed construction lines all the time, typically. But there's no issue with placing it in a known location and then moving it. The biggest thing is if you place it, you just got to know where you're placing it because you're going to get a dimension to it. Okay. But anyhow, did that answer your question? How to get it into the?
No, see up here on the.
Alright.
Once it's,
ribbon, we have this block.
yes,
So, and when I click on insert,
okay, but you
it
haven't,
gives me all the one I have.
right, but you haven't brought these new blocks into the project. Right?
No.
So if I brought in here, you go to the, downloaded this,
Uh-huh.
so. If I open that up, and I bring these into there, okay, if I grab that whole thing,
Mhm.
hit Control C. And I brought, or maybe I only want this one, let's just do one, maybe I want that sink.
Okay.
Control C, I come into, is this where you're,
Week 7. Yeah, that is, no, that's 6.
you have it in a different version, how many different? Okay, so this is a different. here you go.
Yeah, I did this, but then I saw all those things and also the windows were not lining up. So I started drawing another
Okay.
one.
So anyhow, when I paste this in here, okay, it pastes in there. But now if I go to my block, right, and I go to insert,
Oh, it is.
it's in there now because I brought it into the project. So if I brought all of those sinks in there, all the sinks would be in that project,
Got it.
okay? And if I delete this,
And
and then go to insert, it's still there because I brought the block in once, it remembers it.
Oh,
Okay,
so it won't go away.
it's not gonna go away. You can still, since it was a block, I can still insert it again from the block editor.
Okay.
So it doesn't necessarily have to
And
be.
while you're here, when I do this dimensions,
Huh.
it says reassociate. What is that? Everything coming up. I just try to do it from the center of it, but every other one is the same thing. And I was trying to play it from the center of the wall. Let's try.
That works. I don't know if it's the way you're placing it.
Go on dimension line and down. I wasn't doing it from outside, that's,
So outside of, were you overlapping these dimensions?
no. I was
Okay. We'll just, here, so right
doing it
there,
from here
Right
to
there?
Yeah. And now, do the other side of here, from this corner, no, this corner, this. See, now that's, that'll be. Here, there, it
it
goes.
doesn't like being at the same, it doesn't like being at the same spot, is what it's saying.
Oh,
And so see how I did that one to there, to that corner,
right,
and I did this one to that back one. So that's
ah,
what I'm
I
trying to-
see.
So I just tripped it. Now, it should be able to,
Like,
you shouldn't have to do that, but like, let's see if this does the same thing, see, since it. If I reassociate this. And let's just say I choose that side now and this side. Now it
Oh.
doesn't care, so for some reason, it's not liking that. So we could come in here. And if we needed to, we could just type in line. And I could put in just a little secondary line right there. And I could associate one of the dimensions to the secondary line and one. You know, just in case you're having issues, we can fake it that way. Cause sometimes the reassociation is weird. That's one of the reasons I hate the dimensioning and all of that. But because it's like it should be able to come from any spot, and sometimes it does, and sometimes it says, nope, I don't like that. But if it says reassociate, I don't care. So you can leave that.
Right. And I'm gonna do this. Mini homes, kind of, they call it tiny home.
Okay,
I actually want to build 2 of them in the back of my property,
okay, perfect.
so I'm not making a bigger project, but I'm doing it.
I would do one of them. Do one of them to start.
Okay.
If you've got time, you can do both of them. But start with one, get the plan view, get the elevations, get everything populated for one of them.
Okay,
Okay, then if they're the same or similar, we can copy, change things and make it a secondary one.
right,
But I don't want you to get so detailed in your floor plans on 2 different buildings that you don't complete all the views, because now you've got 8 different elevations that you have to have and 2 different. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So just make sure that you get the minimum requirement done before you keep going on to the secondary stuff.
I'll do the full one first.
Okay. Good idea. I'm not sure why yours is getting that, but I'm doing the same thing. And I'm not having to reassociate that. So again, that sometimes when you get dimensions are funky. But if it still shows you the right dimension either way, it just gives you that eye next to it, right?
Yeah,
So if it has the eye, it's not the end of the world. All right, we got about 10 more minutes. What I'd like to do at this point is let's put a pause on where you're at and make sure that you have, and I don't care if you have the whole thing detailed, but let's make sure, and I'm just gonna draw just a little tiny one, right, to start. But we want to have, and we're just going to be on, for our sake, we're going to be on the east side, but I'd like to have your east wall drawn in plan view. Okay, so whether the whole building's drawn or not, I don't care, but I want an east wall of an exterior in plan view. Okay, and then I'm going to show you, we're going to do a couple things on transferring a side wall into a profile. Okay. So in the next 10 minutes, let's just make sure we got something. If you want, obviously you can come back and watch the video, but if you've got the ability to do it while we're doing the demo, it just makes it that much more powerful. And you've got your view ready to go for the next step.
Could be under exterior wall plan layer. What layer will we use for this elevation? Exterior elevation?
Yeah, it'll be an exterior elevation. Well, it can be used as either, and I'll show you what we do with that. But we're gonna do an exterior tonight. We're gonna do an interior probably next week. But we can do an interior or an exterior, it doesn't matter. We can have a vote. All right, we'll give everyone a couple minutes to wrap up where they're at. Again, let's make sure we have at least something. I just drew, a basic wall with a few windows. For my exterior, we're gonna be working on an east exterior. Okay, so last week we worked on a north elevation that allowed us to just copy lines straight up, which was really useful and handy. We're gonna do the same basic idea here, except we're gonna be taking the whole thing, copying it over, and then we can then typically, depending on how they lay it out, a butterfly drawing is typically then rotated. So we can go over doing that. Okay. So has everyone got some type of east wall? Cool. All right. Well, all I can see is Todd, and I got a thumbs up. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do from my east wall is just start at one of the sides, one of the ends of it, and I'm just gonna draw a line out, like 5 feet. Okay.
Question number 2.
Hello?
Yeah.
Did someone say something, or I thought I heard somebody talking and ask a question, but it might just be someone else in the background. I was just making sure I wasn't missing anybody. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do again, I just drew a line out 5 feet from the edge of this wall, from the north edge. And I'm going to do the same thing from the south edge and just draw this out 5 feet. And again, line, go ahead and just draw this out. And I want to type in 5 feet. And I'm going to go ahead and connect the two of them. And now we have our edge of our wall. And this is actually going to end up being either the bottom or the top of our wall, depending on if we're drawing an interior or an exterior wall. So, do we want to draw this wall looking from the inside or the outside?
Can we do inside just so we
Outside?
can see?
We got inside, we got outside. Let's do both. Okay, we're going to start with inside. Okay. And next week, we're going to get into drawing a section head, okay, and showing you how to draw, like, this is coming from this area, okay, but we need to learn how to draw the view first so you can make that view, okay. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, just because I want to be super basic, let's assume this wall height is 8 feet, okay. If yours is 10 feet, great, okay, but I'm going to go ahead and make mine 8 feet. So what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead now and draw this 8 feet farther to the east. Again, I'm going to come down here. And I'm going to make sure that all of my O snaps are turned on the way that I want to. No, I wanted to get, it seems like they are. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and start here and draw 8 feet out. And then finish up by drawing that like that. So now if I took this first line and just pulled it back just a hair. Okay, now you can see the wall, right? That's the wall, and the wall's on its side right now. Okay. So what we need to do, we still need to transfer the information. If it's internal, okay, and we're looking east, I want the bottom of this wall to be on the west side. What that means is when I start my window or my door, this is the ground. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just draw my construction lines, just like we did last week. Okay, and just transfer them to my wall. And this is ultimately the exact same thing that we did last week, except we're just rotated right now, which is fine. Okay. All right. So, and then instead of drawing the story pole on the left-hand side going up, I'm going to draw it on the top, considering that the left-hand side is my bottom. I'll draw a line from here to that extends that out. So then that way I know that the base point's the same. I'm going to draw a line off of here that's going to go 30 inches. And that will be the bottom of my windows. I'm going to draw another line that will be, let's just call it 6 foot. And that'll be the top of my windows. And last but not least, I'll draw one more line that's 7 foot. And that's going to be my door. Okay, and then just because I like to know what I'm doing, I'm going to throw some dimensions here. So I can make sure that, yes, that is 6 foot, that's 7 foot, that's 2'6", right? I know that those are right. Okay, so now it comes into, hey, let's go ahead and transfer that down. Same thing that we did over here. And I can go ahead and transfer this line. I can just start there at the end of the line, draw 90 down. Same thing from the next line. And then last but not least, the very top one. And this is where it becomes fun. So last week, I had us fill this second. I'm actually going to have us fill this first. So I'm going to go ahead and use my trim command. And I'm going to get rid of a couple excess lines real quick. So I'm going to get rid of this line in the middle of the door, which is the bottom of this windowsill, and the line that's the top of the windowsill. Okay. And that's it. Those are the 2 lines that I want to remove right now. Again, if yours looks different, by all means, it's going to, right? Your windows are in different locations. Maybe they're different heights. Okay, but the principle is all the same. And this one we're transferring, again, east side, and we're going to transfer it interior. So we want to be looking, the west side of it is going to be our bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and hatch this now. And I'm just going to pick my internal pattern of the window. I'll go ahead and pick that for my door and pick that for my other window. And now the cool thing is, since I hatched those, I can now use my trim command and literally trim everything else out. Because all I need to save are those hatched areas. And just like that, I now have a window, a door, right? I don't have trim on them, okay? Is this how you necessarily need to make it? No, I'm just demonstrating that that's, you know, this now is transferring over, right? This is now, that's made the window, that's made the door, right? Should it be the other way? Should you hatch the door? Maybe. You know, could you hatch the other way? Absolutely, right? We could leave those in there. Use our trim command. Come in here, trim everything else out around it. And I could use that and use my hatch command and hatch the wall, right? So now the wall is completely hatched and we see an opening where there's an actual opening. That probably makes a little bit more sense. In my demo there, I had hatched this one. Let's go ahead and I'll just undo that. And I'll go ahead and just hatch just because it makes it a little bit more sense. I'll go ahead and hatch the walls like that. Okay. I don't care which way you do it. This is probably more realistic. Okay. But if you want to hatch your window, I don't really care. All right. So we're almost there. Okay. What I want you to pay attention to is this bottom point. Okay. So I like to come in here and I'm going to draw a line here. And I'm gonna start at this bottom point and draw a line, and I'm gonna take my ortho off, and I'm gonna draw a diagonal line from here. And I'm actually also, because I'm really picky, gonna draw another line from the same point and another diagonal. And what that gives me is this little arrow, right? That gives me this little, I know it's pointing to that spot, right? So I know that no matter what, that's the spot, right? I'm not gonna lose it, okay? What I'm gonna do now is take this entire thing and select it. I've got my whole wall, right? And I am going to move it. I'm going to just go ahead and move it from the base point here. And I don't care where I move it. That's the beauty of me marking that spot, okay? Is that it doesn't matter where I move this. I'm moving it into open space so I can rotate it and not be on top of my other walls, okay? I'm just going to move it here. Let's get rid of all these excess construction lines that I don't need anymore. But you'll notice one thing that I'm not getting rid of. And it's how easy is it to tell that that now is my corner spot, right? Especially since I gave it 2 lines. I could have just given it 1 diagonal, but this like kind of forces you into that arrow. Okay, so I'm going to take this whole wall now, use my rotate command. Up here, this rotate. I'm going to specify a base point. I'll go ahead and just pick this base point. And I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. Once I have it rotated, I'm going to move it from the bottom left base point to my arrow base point. And I now have an elevation, and maybe I don't want it there. Maybe I'll put the whole thing, make it nice and centered. Oops, I want to move them together. Okay, but I want this square still, so maybe I'll just go ahead and move that 6 feet. What? Why did I do that? Move. Base point is here. Perpendicular 6 feet. There we go. So now I have the big window on my left and the little window on my right, right? So that shows me that I have to be looking from the inside. If I was looking from the outside, I would have the big window on my right and the little window on my left, right? So that's why I did 2 different size windows, just so you could see that when we rotated it, it does matter which way you rotate. Now, if you wanted to make it the other direction, all you would need to do is make the east side of it your bottom, and then you could rotate it right. Does that make sense? So we did the interior, okay? I'll unrotate this. I'll move this back. I'm going to undo a couple steps. Let's get back to here. All right, perfect. Let's get back one more step to here. Now, what you would do if this was an exterior, okay, because ultimately I want the top at the top, right? So I'm going to have, if this is the top, I have to rotate this right in order to get this to be the top. So I would start on this side and build my story pole up from this direction. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. And I can get rid of these lines too while we're at it, because we're going to have new ones. The windows are in the same basic location, but they're going to be coming the other way. So coming off of this line, I'm going to come out 30 inches. Same thing here. One more time, I'm going to come out 6 feet. And then last but not least, I've got a 7-foot door. I'm going to come out 7 feet. We know that I could go ahead. I'll just go ahead and do it. Put in, there's my dimension for my 7-footer, my 6-footer, and my 2'6" bottom sill. I transfer that down. And then from here, okay, I can go ahead and trim out what I don't want, which again, this is going to be, this window is still here. Don't want any of that. This is the door, so I want that like that. So I don't want those two. And then that's going to be my last window. Once again, I could go ahead and I could hatch this. I'm not going to real quick. Well, oh, sorry. Let's go ahead. I'm going to just bring this back here. I guess let's go ahead and hatch it. Why not? I got time. So I'll come up here. Let's go ahead and hatch this. And maybe since it's exterior, maybe I want to use some brick. Okay. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and click there. Now, can I really see the brick? It's kind of hard. We haven't really got into scaling this, and I haven't got into pattern hatching. We can change, if you want to change the scale of your hatch pattern, you can change scales. Let's go to, so like I made that 100 times as big. Let's just go 50. And that looks more like brick. Okay, so you can just, without getting crazy into the properties, let's just use this little hatching scaling tool. And you can scale that up a little bit. So that looks like brick. I'm going to go ahead, take this whole thing. I'm going to move it. Oh, move to there. And then let's go ahead. Before we get going though, I still want that spot. So I'm going to draw my line. My little diagonal coming off of here, take my ortho off. My little double diagonal. So now when I move this, I've got a corner spot to copy back into or to move back into. So move this over. I can then wipe out all of this construction garbage that I don't need anymore because my point is saved. And then this time, instead of rotating counterclockwise like we did for the last door, or for the last wall, we're going to rotate clockwise. So we'll use our rotate command, pick a base point, go ahead and rotate it. And I'm going to turn my ortho back on so it rotates nicely. And then last but not least, I can move this back to there. And you'll notice that we're looking the outside facing in because this window is on the left and my door is in the center and my big window is on the right. Any questions? Seem pretty straightforward. Okay. If you want to add trim and get crazy cool with that, totally. But again, I'm not I really want you to get the concepts on paper, then we need to come in here and I want you guys to let me know, hey, let's see, how big is this thing, right? So I need to have this dimension here saying that that's too, there's my window. Another dimension right there that shows me the height of the window. Okay. Maybe something right here that shows me where the window is from the wall, from the edge of the wall. And then last but not least, what's the width of that window? Okay. So we need some basic dimensions so I know where things are at. Like I said, if yours is really 3 foot and a 2 5/8 and you want to just make it 3 foot, I don't care, right? It's going to benefit you more having it in the right spot farther down the line, but don't beat yourself up over a 1/4 inch of trying to move things or get them perfect. So I like nice even numbers too. So, but yes, so same concept for east wall and the west wall. Okay. We're going to at least need an exterior of both of those. And then, you know, maybe your kitchen or something is on the inside. Maybe that's one of the interior elevations you want to do. We'll take a look at that. Questions, comments, concerns? We got about 15 minutes. I'll open it up. That was today's demo, was doing a profile on an east or a west wall where you do need to take it and then rotate it. Okay, because you could put this out and what's called a butter. So this is ultimately what's called a butterfly. And so essentially, if we had a box, something like this. Okay. And that box unfolded, right? Let's say that that box is, I don't know, let's say that that box is 10 feet tall. And it doesn't have a lid on it, okay? Ultimately, it's going to look like this. And this is where the whole concept comes from. But when you're drawing walls and elevations and you're drawing stuff that actually has a floor or a ceiling to it, right? It's hard to look at something sideways, right? Because if I open this up, the walls are going to be sideways, right? So if I open that box, now I see the door here, you know, with this is going to be the base of the door, right? And everything would be the ground. And then this whole, all the walls would just fold up, right? You see how that kind of works? Right? Where you got your plan view and then your walls would essentially, your profiles would just fold up. And so that's the concept of it. Now, sometimes it's better to take this side, essentially, and instead of it looking this way, we draw it out, we make all the changes that we need. We put everything on it, and then we rotate it to make the orientation so all doors and all elevations have the ground on the bottom, right? Because the ground isn't on the top of the drawing. So the concept is just to take whatever way you're looking and rotate it so the bottom is on the bottom. The ground is at the floor. All right. Questions, comments? Okay, so tonight I do have an assignment, and tonight's assignment is due today. So all I want you to do is take a screenshot of what you've got right now and submit it. Okay, it's due by midnight tonight. I don't care where you're at. I just want you to get credit for being here and get some points. Okay. So, but just show me that you've got content. Maybe show me that East profile if you've got it. Okay. If not, show me what you've got. I don't care. Okay. But I don't want you to wait for 2 weeks to try to submit it because it's due by midnight tonight. So take a screenshot, put it on Canvas. I already made sure that the Canvas site will accept a file upload for tonight's assignment. So if I go to week 8, class work, 2 points, and it should be a file upload for submitting. So you should be good to just upload a screenshot. All right, at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the video. Just recording of it, just to keep it a little bit shorter. I'm still gonna be on. I'm gonna stop my share and stop video. Okay, and then let's go to more and stop recording.